The summer I turned 11, my mother set a small ceramic dish near the kitchen door. She filled it with dried yuzu peel and 3 drops of Hakka oil. I watched her press the peel flat with her thumb, and the whole room smelled cool and clean. That summer, not a single ant crossed our kitchen floor. Not one. I was 11 years old, and I thought my mother had a kind of quiet magic. What she had was something better. She had a method. In the West, when ants appear, the answer is a spray can. You buy it, you spray it, and for a few days the ants are gone. Then they come back. So you spray again. There is a store near my home in Japan, a very ordinary store, and I have watched Western visitors stare at the cleaning aisle in confusion, not because it is large, because it is small. The products are simple, the bottles are few, and yet every home I visit in my neighborhood is clean and free of pests. Year after year, the people who live there do not fight their homes. They tend them. I am Kenji. For 40 years, I've kept a small home outside Kyoto using the methods my mother and grandmother taught me. I was a school teacher for 35 of those years, and I have always believed that the clearest lessons are also the simplest. Today I want to teach you what I learned from the women in my kitchen. What I am going to show you is a complete Japanese system for keeping ants out of your home without expensive pest control contracts and without harsh chemicals sprayed across entire rooms. We will do this in 2 parts. First, I will explain why the Japanese approach works at the level of how insects actually think. Then I will walk you through each method one by one, so you can start this week with things that cost $1 or $2 at most. The last method I show you is the one that changed how I think about the whole idea of a clean home. If you want a calmer, cleaner home, subscribe, and we will do this together. Here is the thing the spray can does not tell you. An ant is not lost. It is following a road. When a scout ant finds food or water in your home, it lays an invisible chemical trail on its way back to the colony. This trail is called a pheromone path, and every ant that follows it makes the signal stronger. By the time you see a line of ants crossing your floor, that road has been walked thousands of times. The spray can kills the ants you see. It does nothing to the road. Within a few days, a new group of scouts finds the same trail, the same food, the same water source, and the column reforms. The Japanese approach, and this is the key idea, works at the level of the road, not the ant. You do not wait for the column. You make the road unpleasant to build in the first place. You remove the food, you dry the water, you interrupt the pheromone signal before it strengthens, and you place natural materials at the entry points that ant scouts will turn away from on their own. Think of it this way. The spray can is a reaction. Everything I am about to show you is a prevention. And prevention in Japan is not a special effort reserved for Saturday mornings. It is built into how you clean on an ordinary Tuesday. Let me take you through the methods now. The first thing to understand is the genkan. In a Japanese home, the genkan is the entry area, a lowered floor space just inside the front door where shoes are removed before stepping up into the living space. This one design choice is not decorative. It means that the dirt, the mud, the dead insects, and the outdoor debris that clings to your shoes never travel into the home. It is a border. The West has a doormat. Japan has a defined room. If your home does not have a sunken genkan, you can build the habit instead. Create a clear, deliberate zone just inside your door where shoes come off and stay. A simple shoe rack, a single step up onto a clean mat, a line you honor every time you enter. When you define that boundary and sweep it each morning, you remove one of the main corridors insects use to enter a building. Scout ants follow edges and baseboards. When they reach a dry, recently swept threshold with nothing to report back about, many simply turn around. The Genkan habit costs nothing. It takes 30 seconds in the morning, and it changes the entry conditions before anything else is needed. The second method is the one I reach for first in summer, and it costs about $1 or $2 at a Japanese drugstore. It is Hakka oil. Hakka is Japanese peppermint, and the oil pressed from the leaves contains limonene compounds that insects, especially ants, find genuinely repellent. This is not folk medicine or internet folklore. NHK, Japan's national broadcaster, cites diluted Hakka oil applied around the Genkan and kitchen perimeter as a standard household tip. It is mainstream Japanese consumer advice. You dilute it 5 to 10 drops in 100 milliliters of water, which is roughly half a cup, in a small spray bottle. You mist the baseboards near the kitchen along the edge of your entry area and around window frames and door frames where gaps exist. You do not spray it directly on food surfaces or on areas where small children or pets will be in contact with the undiluted oil. You are not killing anything. You are making the road unpleasant. The scent disrupts the pheromone signal at the entry points. Scouts rerouting around it cannot establish a clear path, and so the column never forms behind them. Respray once every 10 to 14 days, and again after rain if your entry areas got wet. My mother wiped the kitchen counter edges with a cloth dampened in diluted Hakka oil every Friday morning. The whole kitchen smelled clean and cool. I still do the same. The third method comes from the kitchen itself, and if you eat citrus fruit, it costs nothing at all. Dried yuzu peel or dried mikan peel. Mikan is the Japanese mandarin orange, small, sweet, and very common in Japan through the winter months. The limonene content in citrus peel is a genuine ant deterrent, and Edo period household manuals, books written for ordinary families in the 17th and 18th centuries, document this practice specifically near food storage areas. Lay the dried peel flat in small ceramic dishes or tuck it into the corners of a cabinet. Place it near your entry points and along the baseboard of any wall that faces the outside. Replace it when the scent fades, roughly every 2 to 3 weeks. My grandmother dried mikan peels on a small bamboo tray after lunch and set them out near the kitchen window the following morning. Nothing complicated, no cost if you are already eating the fruit. The smell to a human is pleasant and clean. To an ant scout, it reads as a barrier. The fourth method is sansho. Sansho is Japanese pepper, the plant Xanthoxylum piperitum, the same family as Sichuan pepper. It has a sharp, numbing, citrusy compound in its dried berries and leaves. In traditional Japanese households, sansho was kept near the pantry and near rice storage as a pest deterrent for both ants and certain pantry moths. A small pouch of dried sansho berries placed inside a kitchen cabinet or near dry goods storage will discourage scouts from marking that area as a food source. You can find sansho at Japanese grocery stores and easily online. A small packet costs very little and remains effective for a long time. If you cannot find sansho, the same principle applies at a slightly reduced level. Dried bay leaves placed in dry goods storage have a similar terpene compound and are documented as working acceptably. But sansho is the authentic Japanese version, and the scent is noticeably stronger. The fifth method is the one people most often overlook because it sounds too simple to matter. dry. After washing dishes in a Japanese kitchen, every surface is dried before you leave the room. The sink is wiped. The counter near the tap is wiped. The draining board is lifted and dried beneath it. A single damp cloth left wadded near the sink is a beacon for ant scouts in warm weather. A colony needs water as urgently as it needs food, and summer scouting is often driven by moisture far more than by food. Japanese kitchens are dry kitchens. The dishcloth is wrung out tightly and hung to air rather than left flat on the counter. The sink is wiped after the final wash of the day. This takes 30 seconds. 30 seconds. It removes the water source that no amount of spray can compensate for, because the spray does not make the sink dry. I tell visitors to my home that the most powerful pest deterrent in a Japanese kitchen is not a product. It is a dry cloth. The sixth method is uchimizu. This is the Japanese practice of sprinkling water outside the home, on the path, the step, and the ground just in front of the entrance. It is a cooling practice used in summer to bring down the surface temperature of stone and earth before the heat of the day fully builds. You will see it done in the early morning outside homes, temples, and small shops across Japan. I want to be clear about what uchimizu is and what it is not. It is a cleanliness and cooling tradition. It is not a pest control tradition. However, there is a secondary effect that is real and useful. A light flush of water across the entry path washes away the pheromone trails that scout ants leave along the exterior perimeter of a building. The scouts must remark their roads. If you do this each morning in summer, they are remarking a road that keeps being erased. The habit is already good for other reasons. The ant trail interruption comes along with it, at no additional cost, without any additional intention. Now I want to address some things you may have seen in other videos, because there is a great deal of misinformation attached to this subject. The first is the claim that Japan does not use pesticides. This is not accurate, and I will not repeat it as if it were true. Japan prefers targeted, contained, low toxicity approaches, small bait traps placed precisely at a specific entry point rather than broad sprays applied to an entire room. That preference is real and it is important, but Japan is not a chemical-free country. You can buy anti-bait stations at any Japanese hardware store. The difference is where in the sequence of responses that product appears. In Japan, it is reached for last, after the maintenance habits have been tried. In the West, it is often reached for first. That order is the Japanese difference, not the absence of any chemical tool whatsoever. The second thing I want to address is chalk lines. You have probably seen videos claiming that drawing a chalk line around your home creates a barrier that ants will not cross, attributed vaguely to Japanese or Asian household tradition. This is not a documented Japanese practice. Calcium carbonate in chalk has no established repellent effect on ants. Do not spend your time on this. The third is essential oil blends sold with packaging that suggests ancient Japanese formulas. Most of these are either undiluted, which can damage surfaces and irritate skin, or they combine compounds for which there is no evidence of effectiveness. Diluted Hakka oil, dried yuzu or mikan peel, and dried sansho are the authentic documented materials. If a product claims to be more powerful because it contains 12 ingredients, that is a marketing decision. It is not a Japanese household principle. I also want to be honest about what this system will and will not do. What I have described is a prevention system and an early management system. If ants have already established a colony inside your walls, if you are finding them in several rooms, and the numbers are large and growing day by day, what I have taught you is the maintenance practice for after the problem is resolved. It is not a cure for an established infestation. In that case, please consult a licensed pest control professional. There is no shame in this. A craftsman uses the right tool for the job. Some jobs require a specialist. What these Japanese methods give you is the daily discipline that means you rarely need one. I should also say this clearly. Hakka oil, like any concentrated essential oil, should be kept away from small children and pets in its undiluted form. Diluted in water, as I described, and applied to surfaces rather than dispersed directly into the air, it is the way Japanese households routinely use it. But I am not a physician. If you have any concern about sensitivities or health conditions in your household, speak with your doctor or your pharmacist before using any plant-derived oil around your home. Now I want to give you the deepest piece of all of this, the one that sits beneath every method I have described. In Japan, there is a phrase attributed to Dogen, the 13th century Zen teacher who founded the Soto school, Soji wa kokoro no soji. Cleaning is cleaning the mind. Soji is the daily act of sweeping and wiping that a Japanese household performs as a matter of course each morning, not because the floor is visibly dirty, because the act of attending to the space is itself the point. Dogen taught his monks to clean the monastery with the same focused attention they brought to seated meditation. One was not more spiritual than the other. They were the same practice, and the practical consequence of this daily attention, centuries later in an ordinary home outside Kyoto, is that you notice things early. You notice the single scout ant before the column forms behind it. You notice the damp corner under the sink before it becomes an established entry point. You notice the gap in the door seal before it widens through a full summer. Early notice is the foundation under every method I have shown you today. The seasonal formal expression of soji is usuji, the great cleaning. In the traditional imperial court calendar, December the 13th was Susutori, the soot removal day, when the removal of the accumulated grime of the year formally began. In modern Japanese homes, usuji happens in the final week of December. Every surface is cleared, every corner is swept, every gap is sealed, every cabinet is emptied, wiped, and restocked. The home enters the new year without old accumulation. The reason usuji does not feel like an exhausting chore in most Japanese households is that the soji habit has been maintained through the entire year. Usuji does not discover much. It reviews a home that has already been tended. It is the annual confirmation of a daily practice. Let me tell you how to begin this week. Each morning, 5 minutes, sweep or dry mop your entry area and kitchen floor. Wipe the kitchen counter edges with a cloth dampened with diluted Hakka oil. That single cloth handles your morning cleaning and your deterrent in one pass. Dry the sink before you leave the kitchen. In summer, sprinkle water at your front entrance. That is a full morning routine. It takes less time than making coffee. Once a week, 10 minutes. Walk the perimeter of your kitchen and entry area and look at the baseboards, the window frames, the gap under the front door, and the space where pipes enter the wall. Refresh any citrus peel dishes if the scent has faded. Mist the baseboard perimeter again with your Hakka oil spray if 10 to 14 days have passed since the last application. Check under the sink for any moisture you missed during the week. Once a season, one afternoon. Clear every cabinet in the kitchen, wipe the surfaces, replace the sancho pouch or spice sachets in dry goods storage. Check the seals around your doors and windows and close any gaps you find. This is your usuji moment, scaled to a single afternoon. You are not cleaning because something is wrong. You are maintaining what is already right. The cost of this entire system across a full year is roughly 1 or 2 small bottles of Hakka oil, the dried peel from citrus you were already eating, and 1 small packet of sancho, perhaps $5 total across 12 months. The average household in the West spends considerably more than that on a single aerosol spray can that must be replaced every few months for a problem that keeps returning because the spray addressed the ants and not the road. My grandmother did not have a pest control contract. She did not set aside a special cleaning day. She had a daily habit, practiced without thinking, refined across decades, handed to my mother and then to me. In Japan, we do not clean because it is dirty. We clean so it never becomes dirty. The West buys the cure. Japan practices the prevention. And once you have lived inside a prevention system long enough, once the daily habit becomes as automatic as washing your face in the morning, the idea of waiting for a problem before you respond feels very strange, almost like waiting to find a leak before you check the roof. The methods I have shown you are not complicated. They do not require special tools or expensive products. They ask only for a small amount of attention given consistently on ordinary days. That is the whole of it. Tend the home, and the home will be calm. My grandmother knew this. Now you know it too.